Hey my brothers and sisters, it's your boy Zatcho and welcome back to some more Withering Waves, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the 5 new characters that Wuwa showcased for 3.0 and what could have possibly inspired the designs. So let's just hop on into it. Alright, so starting out with the character who has a very interesting name that I hope I say this right, Mornye, because I don't know how she would say this name. But yes, she looks really cool, really interesting. Look at those legs. They look very interesting because wow, crystal legs. But the fact that the tassel mark is on the artificial legs makes me feel as though she is an artificial resonator. But at the same time, looking at her overall outfit and the fact that she actually does have an ID badge points to her being a professor at the academy. She gives similar vibes to Shorekeeper, so maybe they have their own Tethys there. Design wise overall, she just feels like another high-tech maiden, again similar to Shorekeeper or a cybernetic priest. You can also say she feels angelic in a way, radiating light. Looking at the crystals and everything else, and the fact that we don't have many glacial characters, one would believe she would be glacial, but this is Withering Wave, so she'll probably be fire. She has quite literally a halo above her head, giving more of an angelic sense, especially with the flowing white hair. In terms of characters from other worlds that share a similar vibe to her, I would say she gives off the mysterious and emotionless vibe similar to Rey from Evangelia. But when I first saw her legs, the literal first thing I thought of was Isa from Guilty Crown, because her void was, you know, the little crystal legs. So that's the perfect place my mind went. But also all these characters that they showcase feel as though they relate to a specific major, similar to how Chisa herself was, you know, in engineering, and then she had the literal chainsaw blade, scissor blade, you know. So for Mornye, I would say astronomy with everything going on in the background, but also with her quote being, "Should that light be reachable?" presumably referring to the sun that is beyond our planet. So yeah, astronomy. Her name is obviously made up because, well, look at it. But if we break it down into Mornye, the first part of her name has English and Germanic roots, so it will mean morning, which not really surprising. And then the later half of her name, Yi, can actually link to either leaf or light. So having it be morning light actually wouldn't be too bad of what her name means. If we want to have a little bit of fun, we could take the naming convention of morning light and correlate it to morning star, which is another way of, well, saying that. And then we could take that a little bit further and turn that morning star into one of two things. So we can look at it from an astronomical standpoint, with it being Venus, and then she really could be even further towards that fusion character being an actual fire character. Or we can look at that halo and go from a more of a angelic standpoint and be like, oh, she's a fallen angel coming down to earth to help us, not in the sense of a Lucifer, but just a angel coming down to earth that came from space trying to get back up there. And you know, we could go many ways with this, but you know, we're just having a little fun right now, so don't look too far into that. But that's all I can really think of when it comes to her. If you see anything else that I missed, let me know. But that's all I really got for her. She is a very interesting character. Out of all of them, she is my number 2 in terms of who I want the most. Next up, we have Lucilla, whose name is actually Latin, and it pretty much is derived from the word lux or lucis, meaning light, and then the suffix illa means little, so it pretty much translates to little light, which historically it was associated with the Roman name Lucilius and was famously borne by the daughter of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. I would say the name being translated to little light is actually kind of funny, and it really does work, because looking at her short that's on, you know, the Wuwa official channel, you can actually hear a projector in the background as the startup of her short. And it's interesting because, well, projectors use little lights to, well, project light onto the film to project. And for her, you literally have a film in the background, which I would say her major will be theater. And honestly, she could be some form of an actress, because she's very fashionable. I mean, look at how amazing she looks. Look at the fit. She definitely gives the vibe of a woman who knows she looks good and definitely uses it to her advantage. You got the leg peeking out with the thigh band going on. Like, come on now. She knows exactly what she's doing. She also is another character who has a ID badge, so she is probably a professor at the academy as well. But the overall outfit feels like a clash between femme fatale energy meeting spy aesthetics. Like, you could definitely see this woman in an old spy movie walking around causing mayhem. Look at the gloves. She's more than likely wearing heels, man. And look at that little confident wink, because she knows exactly what she's doing. This woman will be diabolical. And that also ties into the fact that her name is similar to the emperor daughter's name, because the emperor's daughter Lucilla was a part of a conspiracy to overthrow her brother. But apart from that, we really don't have too much else to work with. But in terms of her element, I don't know, man. Wuwa makes it so hard, but I'm just going to shoot an airball and say Spectro. But yeah, on to the next one. Next up, we have Sigrika. I hope I said that name right. But out of all the characters, she seemed the most out of place. And by that I mean, she feels as though she was a countryside girl who was brought into this great futuristic society. Because her outfit compared to everybody else, it just is so different. So Sigrika's name could have two possible origins. It could be very similar to the name Shritika, which has both Sanskrit and Hindu origins. The Sanskrit origins with the name meaning filled with wisdom and knowledge, while the Hindu origins have it moving more towards it meaning earth and goddess of the mountain. So you could see how actually both those names work pretty well, especially with her having essentially what looks like, because it's kind of hard to tell, but elf ears, which elves are usually depicted with having vast knowledge as well. So there's that. She has a cute little ram purse, which would tie back to that mountain connection. So maybe she came from the mountains down into this futuristic society. She's definitely giving Aloy vibes from Horizon Zero Dawn, like 100%. Looking at her headdress, the runic symbols in the background, and her hair, she could be a shaman with Norse inspiration, so blending those two together. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty interesting character, and she does have what seems to be, maybe, not 100% sure, but it doesn't look like tribal marks on her leg. It looks more like, you know, technological markings, so probably nanotech, with the purpose of mimicking tribal tattoos. So maybe she's just a character that's supposed to symbolize the old mixing with the new. We'll have to see. But in terms of how much I want her, she's definitely my number 3. I almost forgot, for Sigrika, her major would probably be geology. But yeah, that's all I'm really getting from Sigrika. Again, if there's anything I missed, let me know. Alright, now looking at my favorite character out of all of them, who is Luuk Herssen, who honestly, he looks like an absolute snack badass. I made quite the zesty comment online, but that does not matter because man looks good. But yes, Luuk. It's kind of obvious what he's going to be based upon, but his major would more than likely be biology. You know, with all the DNA strands strewn about literally everywhere. It's literally, the helix is everywhere, man. This man is going to be experimenting on people, and he's probably the person who's making artificial resonators. Like, he has to be doing something with artificial. I just can't believe it otherwise. Looking at him, he has an ID badge, so he's probably a professor. But also looking at his arms, bro, I don't know. It might just be me. His arms look like there's two different sizes. Now, we could make funny jokes like, I wonder how his arm got that big. But literally, his arms, like his right arm looks a lot smaller than his left arm. The left arm seems to be modified. Like, looking at it, the veins go from blue to golden, and it just looks stronger than the other arm. It's also the arm holding the vials in his hand, which could link to him being an alchemist on top of just being a bioengineer. So it could be a fusion of those two. But yeah, looking at him, he definitely gives the vibe of just super intelligent, but also very dangerous. The fact that he has experimented on himself, it seems, gives me the feeling that he's probably like more of a Mayuri from Bleach. You know, super smart, super dangerous, not afraid to experiment on himself for others to get to his goals. And those damn eyes, just Jesus. But funnily enough, his name, Luuk, is, well, Dutch, and it also means lux, light, or to illuminate. So that's now 3 characters who have a similar naming scheme of meaning light in some way, shape, or form. One could believe they could all be tied together because of this naming convention of them all being, you know, similarly having a correlation to light in their names. But yeah, for him, it seems very apparent that he's just tied to biology in general. I mean, heck, looking at his chest, if we look real hard, you can actually see the caduceus, which is a staff intertwined with 2 snakes going through it with wings on the outskirts. Now, weird enough, this symbol actually is correlated to Hermes, but that's the god of, well, messaging, commerce, and negotiation. But in actuality, this same symbol actually gets mistaken for the rod of Asclepius quite a bit. And actually, in the United States, at least due to an error in the 19th century, it became associated with medicine because of this very same mistake. So maybe they also did the same mistake as well, because it makes more sense for it to be the rod of Asclepius because, well, medicine. But the rod of Asclepius doesn't have 2 snakes intertwining, it only has 1, and there's no wings. So yeah. And last but not least, we have Lynae, who, honestly, the blue tips on the hair makes me feel like she's related to Luuk in some way, shape, or form, just saying. But her name honestly feels kind of weird considering how she's being, well, presented. because her name Lynae means, well, one of the meanings is kind of funny, it means lime, but the other meaning is linden tree, which usually represents love, friendship, and peace. But looking at this girl, I'm not really getting the whole love, friendship, and peace vibe from her, so it's just, the name just feels so conflicting meaning wise to what she, you know, is showing us. But she's definitely fashionable. Clang bang little, you know, keychain is very cute. The fact that she has the graffiti going on in the background makes me feel like her major would be, well, art, but she is definitely giving rebellious pop idol energy, you know, stylish, edgy, and mysterious, kind of giving a Lucy from Cyberpunk / Himiko Toga from MHA. So yeah, that's what I'm getting from her. But she seems like someone who would be around Chisa's age if, you know, Chisa was still at the academy with a more updated outfit for the school's uniform. But yeah, no, not too much to say about her. It's cool that we get to see her tattoo mark at least. So we got to see, I believe, 2 tattoo marks out of the 5 characters, and they're both in a similar area on the thigh, so I guess. Okay, so they did release the full splash art of Lynae, so it did help me push an idea I had in my head a little bit further with the whole meaning behind her name and the fact that, you know, it's about love, friendship, and peace and whatnot, but she's not really depicted that way. If we look at the background of her actual splash art, you can see someone like covering their face in pain, so maybe something actually did happen to her in the past that, you know, traumatized her, and then this is her way of coping, you know, this new rough exterior. But apart from that, the bike is absolutely sick, and it reminds me of Prom from Chasing Collider Rider, as well as Alpha Crimson Weave, you know, because PGR, they've done this whole bike combat before. So if she actually does end up using the bike in actual combat, that will also be interesting. So yeah, there's that. But this also brings into question, maybe all the new characters will have their own special bikes, or bikes will be our new form of transportation in this new area. But that will be absolutely sick because this bike is clean as fuck. But also, interestingly enough, her actual badge looks different from all the other characters' badges, because Mornye, Luuk, and Lucilla's badge all have their actual, you know, picture on it, but hers just seems like a regular standard badge. So maybe this does push the fact that they actually are professors even more. But what's most interesting to me is that all these characters have a quote that starts with "should that," which is very interesting because that means they are all questioning something, which goes in line with Starforge Academy, which is the, you know, collective pursuit of knowledge for humanity. So it's pretty interesting to see that being the startup of all their little quotes. But yeah, she would be my number 4 in terms of who I would want the most out of all the characters. She just falls so low, not because her design is bad, but because all the designs are just so good. But yeah, if I missed anything about any of these characters that y'all see that I didn't, hey, say something down below. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you guys, and bye-bye.